All right, this video will demonstrate how to do a chromatic scale in what I call as open position, where you start with an open string. Um, Strictly kind of my term, but it does. There are two ways to approach the guitar in that regard, where you're playing in a position where you don't play any open notes unless it's a special effect. But other times you're actually using the open notes, these notes that are down here below the nut, like a sixth string open, right? Or first fret, but sixth string open. So we're using those open strings. So this scale is really simple, but it does get your left hand fingers operating the way they should. And I'm going to use a pick today on a classical guitar, which I don't normally do because, a classical guitar generally has no pick guard. So if you use a pick, you will scratch into the top. And if you've ever noticed Willie Nelson's guitar, he played a classical guitar for years, and there's a hole right here, down here in this area on the guitar, because he's picked all the way through. So, it's not a thing to do really, but I'm trying to demonstrate how to use a pick also, and I don't really want to use the electric up here. So, when you're using your left hand, which I will zoom in over there, okay, we're going to zoom in as close as we can get. There we go. It's open. First fret, first finger. Second fret, second finger. Third fret, third finger. Fourth fret, fourth finger. And you'll notice maybe that I have left my fingers down in place. It's a little harder to do, but we're trying to get your hand to, I'm trying to get your left hand to open up. So, and that's point one. Point two is it takes just as much mental power to lift a finger up as it takes to put one down. So the fact that you're going to the next note and you're lifting up a finger, it might feel easier, but your mind is working twice as hard because it has to lift a finger and put one down. So we're going to get the benefit of only using one neural passageway and just leave them down, and also the fact that you're opening up the left hand. And you'll notice that I'm really up on my fingertips over here. I'm not coming in this way like this. I'm not holding my hand back here like this because I can't reach across, especially on a classical guitar. So you're really going to, your thumb is on the back of the neck back here. It's not poking up like this right here. So stay on the fingertips. I guess maybe that would be the one thing to say. Stay on your fingertips. And then we move over to the fifth string and we do the same thing. Open 1, 2, 3, 4, and the fourth string, same thing again. It's really simple in concept. And then the third string has only 4 notes, which is open 1, 2, 3. It's one nature of the guitar that bears explanation, which we will do later. And then back to the second string. It's now open 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we're going to go back down. Now this will be different because as you come back down, you're not going to put all the fingers back down and then lift them up. You put them down one at a time because you're going to work doubly hard to put them all down and then lift them up. So it's literally on the way back down, it's literally at that point, it is one finger at a time. Guitar players, like all musicians, are going to find the easiest way to do something. And there is a little bit of a difficulty, especially with that fourth finger, because it's unlike the other fingers, it's not really naturally trained in the real world. In your day-to-day stuff, you don't really reach out and do something with your fourth finger, maybe unless you're a surgeon. So there is a slight difficulty, coordination difficulty when you're trying to put it down on that next string over. So it's good exercise there too. So we're going all the way down and fifth string. Notice I'm putting down one finger at a time. It may be hard to see, but there it is. And then open. All right, so that's the chromatic scale, and yet again, very important. That was probably too fast for a beginner. You need to go very, very slowly. When I practice a piece, I go so slow because I'm thinking about my technique and everything that I'm doing. You know, for instance, I'm working on a piece now just to show you. I played this piece for years, but I've come up now and I'm trying to rework it with, you know, maybe a little bit more musical thought. So this piece, I practice like this. And it goes like this. But I'm not really working it that way. That's playing it. I'm the other way, slow practice. Yet again, slow practice for your guitar, your entire guitar life will be practice. Speeding it up and playing it at tempo is one of two things: testing what you've learned and actually performing. So we don't sit down and practice and perform when we practice unless we're working on performing the piece for real. All right, now that takes us to the picking technique, which is very important because you'll see all kinds of stuff that guitar players do. You're not going to be looking at me, you're going to be looking at my right hand. And you'll see guys that will go like this, they'll pick out, you know, or they'll do this. You know, they'll flick the pick. It's flicking the pick. And this is coming out away from the guitar. You know, it's like you're just afraid to hit that other string. Okay. So what I generally will do with students is I'll talk about that and I'll say, okay, well, you know, pick, here, let me get this fixed. You pick your normal way, the way you decided you're going to pick, and they'll flick the pick, and I'll say, oh, well, okay, where's the pick? Well, it's out here somewhere. Okay, well, I want you to go down and pick the third string. Well, even I can't do that. That was my second, so you know, it's like, well, they don't know. All right. So if you angle your pick at about a 45-degree angle or so, you know, across the strings, and you come off of the right now I'm on the fifth string. It doesn't matter. On string 6 through 4, 6 through 2 is going to be the same thing either way, but I'm going to play off of the sixth, and I'm going to come off of the sixth string. And I'm going to land right on the fifth string, and I'm just going to stay there until it's time to play the next note. Okay? Now, here's the thing. You know, when you pick like this, where's the pick? Well, I don't really know. It's out in the air somewhere. If you pick like this, that pick is on the fifth string. And I can say to a student, would you bet your life on it? And they'll say, yeah, I'll bet my life on it. I'm on the fifth string. So that's the point. Point number two is it's a better sound. It's deeper. It's got more resilience to it. So a solid downstroke is the way to do a downstroke. Okay, every time. I guarantee if you get so good enough that you're in the studio, you do not want to make a mistake. You know, you got to play it right. I mean, maybe you won't get it right the first time in a session, but if you do in a session or on the bandstand, you're going to get a reputation as a dependable player, and that's what you want. So you gotta weed this stuff out of your playing and become a good player that way. A player that doesn't make mistakes or makes few as possible. So a nice solid downstroke. We're not going to deal with the upstroke yet. We're just dealing with the downstrokes. But the pick is at a 45-degree angle or thereabouts. It's pretty close. And this other part of my hand down here is actually on the strings because I'm not playing on those strings, so I can just use the strings for support. Now, if we move down to the first string, well, there's not another string down here, right? I call it the 0 string down there, and my hand now is on the guitar top. Once again, I'm not going to be using a classical guitar. And you're still going to do a downstroke, and you're just coming down onto the invisible 0 string that's right there. You just can't see it, okay? Same movement, same thing. So that is the scoop on picking, how to use a pick, and how to play the chromatic scale. All right, now, go practice. Thanks.